Hello, and welcome to the lore of Braunhaven. Today we're going to be continuing our journey up the Eastern Tradeway through the Skelos Mountains, and we come to a rather treacherous part of the Skelos Mountains, and that would be the part of the Eastern Tradeway that skirts along the edge of the mountain past the domain of Stromvolt. So Stromvolt is this imposing fortress that is built into the mountainside on the eastern side of the slope, while the Eastern Tradeway follows along the western slope of the mountains. And the at this point, it is so high that looking off the edge of the cliffs, you see nothing but cloud layer. You are actually either in the clouds or actually above them, and it is very treacherous. I mean, a slip and a fall here is certain doom. But Stromvolt itself makes the area even more dangerous because it is the lair of the fire giant lord, Lord Ledsius, and Ledsius is he is fire giant royalty, but he is fairly young for being a fire giant king. He came into it after his father was killed, and so the fire giants of Stromvolt have kind of been in various wars with the dwarves of Zlatoheim over the past several centuries. And 30 years ago, Lord Ledsius's father, who was then the fire giant king, led a assault against the forces of Zlatoheim, and the dwarves gave them a sound kicking. The lines were broken. Ledsius's father was killed, and the survivors of that battle went back to Stromvolt and essentially crowned Ledsius king of the fire giants. And he was a young man or a young giant at the time when this happened, and so it was probably, I would say, probably his first or second battle that he had actually been in. And so, he was relatively inexperienced as far as waging war goes. But at the same time, being a fire giant prince, he would have grown up in that environment, and so it's not like he was completely thrown into the deep end. He kind of knew what he was doing. He does have a lot of ambition. Being a fire giant, he is rash and quick to anger, and he tends to point the blame of his failures on other giant rulers of the different giant clans. He believes that the frost giants are too weak because they are fragmented into many tribes, and he believes that is their weakness. He believes that the stone giants are actually lackeys of greater underworld races, and that they should be railing against that and rising up and ruling the underworld. He has all of these scapegoats, but in reality, it's simply because he has bigger ambitions than he has ability. And so he still attempts to woo the other giants. And so several times a year, he will invite the royalty of other giant clans, specifically the frost giants, cloud giants, storm, even occasionally storm giants, and of course the stone giants. And he will invite them to Stromvolt for these numerous meetings, and he believes that if he can create some kind of alliance between the giant clans, that it will, especially, so he wants to create an alliance first and foremost with the frost giants of Stagina, and he wants to unify those giants, hopefully under him, but he would be fine as long as they unify. And he feels that if he does that, not only will he be able to conquer the Skelos Mountains, but he'll also take that and conquer Stagina as well. Along with the other giants, such as the cloud giants, if he can create a alliance with them, he may be able to further on the western slopes, or excuse me, on the eastern slopes of the Skellis Mountains, and actually conquer the Glaucian Empire as well. For their part, the stone giants, he has all these plans for using the mythic underworld for some of his plots and perhaps taking over the mythic underworld. But the stone giants, being stoic as they are, um, they're pretty incredulous to what it is that he wants to do. And the storm giants, of course, they are kind of above all of the other giants, and they very rarely do storm giants bother to even come to these meetings. So even if he were to be successful, it wouldn't be that he would be able to travel across the sea or take those lands. So it is an issue for him. He is married to his queen, Queen Sotor, and her father told her that she was marrying beneath her. He did not care for Lord Ledsius, but Sotor truly loved him and decided to marry him anyways. And she supports Ledsius in everything that he does. They truly have. Wouldn't necessarily say it's a loving relationship, more codependent, I would believe. She does support him, but she's not blind in her support. She's very well read and very intelligent as well. Um, and she has a cruel streak in her that is perhaps even worse than her husband's. The two of them, they have the son, Prince Weog. Prince Weog is a spoiled little shit, and Sotor spends most of her time worrying about the upbringing of her son, and she constantly complains that no matter how much she beats him, he just won't listen to her. And as he gets older, he is showing more and more psychopathic tendencies to the point where Queen Sotor has started to sleep with a giant-sized dagger under her pillow because she can't trust her son. So they have some issues in their household, as you can see, and these issues that in their not being able to keep his own house in order is one of the reasons that these giant royalty that come over to these meetings, they're not really buying what he's selling because they can see that he can't even keep his own stuff together, and so they have no hopes that he would be able to rule an alliance of giant kin. In addition to the fact that he's a fire giant, and there are many fire giants in the stronghold that makes this area dangerous. The other problem is that he is known for taking slaves. And so where Stromvolt sits, most of the Skellis Mountains are actually extinct volcanoes, or, in air quotes, extinct volcanoes. Or at the very least, they are considered dormant volcanoes. But Stromvolt is actually sitting over one of the few volcanic vents that exists there. And the reality is, if it wasn't for Stromvolt and its forges, this volcanic vent would probably build up pressure and cause a massive eruption that could cause numerous problems. So Stromvolt, I guess in a way, is kind of protecting this side of the Skellis Mountains, and particularly this stretch of the Eastern Tradeway, from just not blowing itself out or being covered at the very least in lava. And so when these forges are really heavily active and they're really churning stuff out, the entire area will they still release this sulfuric, sooty, smoky fog in the area that stings the eyes and the nostrils. And it is during those times that it is particularly dangerous because fire giant patrols from Stromvolt will be out in the area. They usually don't stray too far. They won't stray much further than about 12 miles from Stromvolt in a 12-mile radius around Stromvolt. But they will go out and they have been known to assault caravans that are heading up and down the Eastern Tradeway. Not necessarily destroying them or taking all of them, but they will take individuals and they will enslave them to work in their forges. Now, when Lord Ledsius's father was killed and the lines of their army were broken at Exilatoheim, when he came back and was crowned king, he kind of shut the doors. Before that, I mean, it's a fire giant stronghold, so they didn't get a whole lot of visitors, but the his father did have kind of an open policy. So if there was a diplomatic envoy from the smaller folk, he would see them. That is no longer the case with Ledsius. He has shut the doors. The only people that are allowed in and out are, of course, willingly, are of course the giant royalty. But in addition to that, of course, there are the slaves, and they come in, and usually they don't ever leave. The life expectancy in the forges is quite low. Now, for his part, he's doing what he can to continue giant kind. The problem with Ledsius is that, as I said, he has a whole bunch of ambition, but he has very little vision, and so a lot of his goals are short-term goals, or they are pie in the sky. I wish they could be true kind of goals that he tends to work toward, and then maybe he's got ADHD because he tends to just bail on some of these halfway through. He doesn't even wait to see if they're going to be successful. So it is unlikely that he will become this great leader of an alliance of giants, but one never truly knows. I mean, there could be some inspiration from one of the other giant clans, perhaps a Jarl from the Frost Giants will come about that will be able to assist him or push him in the right direction, or perhaps there will be a Cloud Giant that can do the same. So it is a dangerous situation, and one that Zlatoheim would much prefer to just see go away. But it is what it is, and Zlatoheim is not willing to commit forces to completely eradicating Stromvolt at this point. So that is Stromvolt. Catch us next time, and we will continue our journey up the Eastern Tradeway into the Skelos Mountains. Thank you for watching.